Hi, this is Scott, and this is the MAMIL Channel. Welcome. In this video, I'm going to talk about things that happen in threes. Well, if you think about it, there's a lot of things in life that are three for a reason. Not always. Sometimes things, there's a little phrase about things happening in threes. So you've got things that happen for a reason, like, the ingredients of a BLT sandwich. The ghosts in the Scrooge story, in the Christmas Carol story. 3 little pigs and 3 blind mice and, Goldilocks and the 3 bears. There's so many different things that happen in threes for a reason. But there's also there's also things in life that don't happen like that for a reason. One example being London buses. You're standing around waiting for a bus, you're waiting for 20 minutes, no bus is there, and then all of a sudden 3 of the same bus all turn up at the same time. And then, of course, you've also got things like pop trios, like these beautiful boys from Hanson. Whether that's a deliberate 3 or whether that's a thing that happens in threes, I'll let you decide. My God, haven't they changed a lot recently? Anyway, the point of this video is to talk about cycling equipment. There's 3 main pieces of cycling equipment that I use. There's my Trek Madone, which is the new bike that I bought this year. There's my Specialized Roubaix, which is the bike I've had for the last 4 years. And there's the Wahoo Kicker trainer, which I've had for about a year. And in the last 3 weeks, I've had problems with all 3 pieces of equipment. It's been a really frustrating time. Thankfully, it's not stopped me riding. It's kept me off the bike for maybe a day or so here and there. But it's not stopped me riding, and all the problems are now resolved. Everything's now back how it should be, working perfectly, so I can pick and choose exactly which of these things I want to use now. But I just want to talk about each of the 3 problems that I've had, what issues it's caused me, and what I've had to do about it to get things back as expected. So with the Trek, going with that one first, that's actually the problem that happened first, the Trek Madone. I was out on a ride to meet a couple of friends of mine one warm summer's evening for a drink, and I'd ridden about maybe 20-25 miles on the way to meet them, and all of a sudden I had a ping from the rear wheel, and one of the spokes had snapped at the hub. So the hub in the centre of the wheel, one of the spokes had snapped at the hub. And the bike was still rideable. I still went and met my friends. I still rode home afterwards. I only had a few miles to get home. I'd done a loop to go and meet them. I still had just had a few miles to get home, but I didn't want to ride the bike anymore. So I phoned the store the next day where I bought it from. It was also due its kind of first free service. So, once I could get the bike in there, they sorted out the spoke. They did the little service, all completely free of charge. And I got the Madone back in full working order. The whole process end to end took about a week because by the time I got it booked in for the service and what have you, it just took a few days. So I was without the Trek for about a week, but it's all great again now. In that week, where I couldn't ride it, I was actually riding my Specialized Roubaix, which I don't normally do at this time of year, but I took it out for a spin, and I did a few rides. And on one of the rides, I was, I'd done 20 miles or so with a buddy of mine. I was 12 miles from home. I remember that far. I was 12 miles from home, and I no longer could change gears at the rear. So I still had the use of the chain ring between the large and small chain rings at the front. But there was a problem with the rear derailleur or the gear cable or something. I found out what it was quite quickly, actually. And the gear cable had snapped. I wasn't initially sure where it had snapped because the cable was frayed where it goes into the rear derailleur, but it still seemed okay. And actually, as I discovered when I got home, the problem was right up inside the shifter, up inside the shifter at the handlebars. Thankfully for me, I went on a mechanics course about 6 months ago, which I'll talk about in another video. So that gave me not just the know-how, but also the confidence and some of the tools, which I bought subsequently, to actually have a go at replacing the cable myself. It doesn't sound like that big a job necessarily, but it's not something I'd personally done before. I didn't video myself doing it, number one, because it took me ages and I had to make parts of it up. But also number two, because my hands were not this colour while I was doing it. They were black all over, so I didn't video it. I'm not going to show you the process of me doing it, but I managed to get it done. The biggest issue actually was where the cable had frayed inside the shifter. So, I actually ended up having to remove some of the cover plates from the shifter so I could see right inside as to what was going on, which again is not something I've done before. I just kind of took a leap of faith that, if I took a cover off, I kept the cover, I kept the screw, I'd know exactly where it went back on. And sure enough, everything was fine in the end. But actually, I couldn't even release whenever you're replacing a cable, they always say the first thing you do is take all the tension out of it. So you try and move into what would be your lowest gear in the context of a rear derailleur. Actually, no, the highest gear. Sorry, what am I talking about? So moving the lever wasn't causing the barrel inside the shifter to move because of the cable being frayed and snapped inside. So that was why I had to take the cover off, and then finally I could get the barrel to turn inside the shifter, and then I could get the old piece of cable out, start and loosen it, turn the barrel right round with the lever, get it in the right position for fitting the new cable, run it then all the way down the inside of the bike out to the derailleur, get it all tightened and recovered and recovered and what have you. And then, of course, another job that you've always got to do when you replace either front or rear gear cables is indexing, because you're never going to get exactly the same tension in the cable at exactly the same point with the derailleur, so your gears are not going to change smoothly. So actually, again, because of the know-how that I've got and the fact I've done this a couple of times now, I was able to re-index my gears as well to get the shifting and the gear changing happening nice and smooth. So no problem there, and the bike was back out on the road the next day, which is fantastic. So I didn't lose a lot of riding time with that one. So that was problem number 2. The third problem, the Wahoo Kicker trainer that I use indoors when I'm using Zwift for indoor riding. So there's been a bit of I first bought the Kicker. It was a Kicker 18 model that I bought about this time last year, right at the end of August 2018. If you buy a Kicker today, a brand new one, either from a retailer or directly from Wahoo, a Kicker 18 is the current spec model in August 2019 as I record this video. There's been a few issues with the Kicker 18, which have been very well publicised, and I'll talk more about that in a second, actually. I'm actually on the 4th unit now. I'm on Kicker number 4. The problem I had with Kickers number 1 and 2 were a design fault. And I'll explain why it happened twice to me. But it was actually a design fault that was, once customers had given this feedback to Wahoo, that investigated why so many customers were having problems. They actually, voluntarily, which is great, actually recorded a YouTube video with DC Rainmaker. So I've got a few stills of that video here, and you'll find the link in the description below. And the CEO and one of the engineers actually go through completely transparently what the issue was, what they've done to recover from that, what they've done to fix it, and how they're handling customer situations where customers have that problem. So personally, for me, I was using Kicker number 1 for about 6 weeks, and then all of a sudden, the Kicker actually started developing a ticking noise. So as you were using it, and as the wheels were turning, it wasn't coming from the bike; it was definitely coming from the Kicker. There'd just be a ticking noise in the rear mechanism, of the actual Kicker itself. So I took a video, I uploaded it to Wahoo, which is what their support team asked me to do. And they were brilliant. They handled it really quickly. They got a new unit shipped out to me as quickly as possible, took the old one away, no problem at all, or so I thought. Kicker number 2, unfortunately, didn't even last 6 weeks. It actually had that same clicking fault, the same key fault. It actually had that same fault the very first time I used it, which at the time, of course, was really disappointing, because I thought, well, I've got a new unit, I'll be fine. And so Kicker number 2 again was replaced with another one. They took Kicker number 2 away. Kicker number 3, I've had that since the end of October last year, so nearly 10 months, and probably the equivalent of about 1,500 miles of riding, and it hasn't skipped a beat at all until a few weeks ago. I rode it one lunchtime when it was raining here in the UK, because of course it rains in the summer in the UK. The rain doesn't care what time of year it is; it still falls anyway. So I was riding one lunchtime, and the Kicker had a different type of clicking and ticking noise, and a really bad vibration, but it only kicked in after about 20 minutes of use. The first time I thought, okay, maybe just a one-off problem, but the next time I used the unit, it had exactly the same problem after, again, about 20 minutes. So once it was all warmed up, and again, with Wahoo support, I videoed it. I sent the video to them. Immediately, they came back, within a couple of hours and said, we'll send you another one. No quibbles, no charges, nothing, no questions asked. We'll ship you another one. So actually, kicker number 4 arrived about a week ago. And then today they've actually collected kicker number 3, and that's now on its way back to them. Kicker number 4, again, I've ridden it a couple of times, and that's now working beautifully as well. All done under warranty, no charge, no fuss, no quibbles from Wahoo. So yeah, they might have had a few issues with the actual physical units, and certainly the design problem that they had to begin with. But I can't really fault the responsiveness and the attitude of their support people in terms of being helpful. So in that regard, fair play to them, because I know not all companies, have that same kind of attitude. So that's been the 3 problems that I've had in the last few weeks. The Trek with its spoke, all now sorted. The Specialized with the gear cable, thanks to myself, all now sorted. And then the kicker, thanks to Wahoo, that's all now sorted as well. Everything's back in full working order. I can pick and choose what equipment I want to use, which is exactly how life should be when you've got, when you're equipped in this kind of way. So that's enough for this particular video. If you like this video, you know what to do. You can give it a thumbs up. You can subscribe to the MAMIL channel. You can also follow me on social media. Again, links to that in the description below. Look at the channel to have a look at some of the other videos I've recorded already. And there'll be more to come very soon. It seems entirely appropriate to end this video with a little bit of Hanson. So over to them, and I'll see you again soon on the MAMIL channel. Thanks for watching.